Welcome to the ultimate sound of the start of penultimate weekend in the EFL regular season. Yes, the NTT20 betting show sponsored by Sky Bet. It's for over 18s only. It's going to be St. George Elek and me, Ali Maxwell, making betting picks ahead of the EFL weekend. Please make sure you are gamble aware if you're thinking of placing a bet this weekend or any time. Head to gambleaware.org for the best place just to brush up on the risks that come with betting. Last week will be one of the more memorable weeks, and for ultimately sad reasons.
Scrambled egg.
The Eggman took us through the 12:30s, took us through the Saturday 3pms. What kind of idiot would pick a Sunday 3pm League One game?
Someone who's looking for a bit of value.
That's selection number 6, Wigan. Did almost nothing to win it for me, 0-0 at Port Vale. 5 out of 6. One short of the 77-1 Eggman. But I loved the journey. I loved how many messages I got throughout, even the ones commiserating, even the ones gleefully celebrating. And there were a couple. I saw him. I didn't like him. Motivates me for the next couple of weeks. The good news was I ended the week in fairly healthy profit thanks to a nap win at Portsmouth 13-10, and Jays Cabia had a point on him to score at 9-4, which he did. So still 3.35 points up on the week. George, you got your ACCA swerve right. That was you swerved Wickham at home to Blackpool.
They lost
successfully. The Barrow pick, the Northampton pick, the Richard Kone pick, not so good. Walsall continue to be Walsall. So what's your best bet this weekend? This is always kind of a fun time of the season, betting-wise. Things are a bit different. The way you look at things might end up being a little bit different, or rather reasoning for picks. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
The Championship for me, looking at Middlesbrough. And we formerly had winter, but it's quite warm out at the moment. So don't concede summer, I think is what we're going to go for here.
Don't concede summer. Come on, England.
Like the under-21s.
Yeah, exactly.
Middlesbrough are 7-4 to beat Watford 0 on Saturday, which feels good to me. I mean, it's funny that there seems to be a trend quite often in the Championship of like the best teams who play expansive football and get a lot of credit for the way that they play. Actually, the thing that underpins their success is a really good defensive record. And, you know, the team I'm thinking about most there is Daniel Farke's Leeds United, who, for all of the good football they played, for all of their dominance, they'd often have games where they wouldn't even concede a chance, let alone a goal. I don't think Middlesbrough are there yet. I do think that if Middlesbrough are in the Championship next season and Kim Hellberg is still their manager, then that will be the kind of team that they replicate. Because as good as the football is, and as exciting as their games are, and as good as they are at fashioning chances, what all of that control yields is the fact that they are very, very good at the back. And especially at home recently, they often have games where they concede very few chances. We're recording this on Thursday. They beat Sheffield Wednesday last night 1-0. I think a few people probably thought the margin of victory would be more. They restricted Sheffield Wednesday to few shots, 3 shots total in the second half, 5 in the first half, 8 in total, just 1 shot on target in the whole game, which came from Granger relatively late on, that was saved well by Bryn. But at home, you know, if you take out the Millwall game, which is obviously a very different kind of profile of game to this one against Watford that they lost 2-1. They had a 1-0 defeat against Charlton, which was absurd. They had a 1-0 defeat against Pompey, where Pompey basically didn't have a shot in the whole game and then scored in the last minute. So even though the results won't necessarily support this, if you actually look at the games and the amount of chances they're conceding, it's very few. Compare that to Ed Still's Watford, who are spiraling out of control, I would say. They haven't scored in their last 3 games. They are not enjoying life on the beach. Ed Still is, it feels to me impossible that his tenure at Watford is going to, well, I mean, we'll have to see what Gino Pozzo does because you can't second guess him, but I think it's fair to say the fans are already done with what they're seeing from him. Key players who should be much better from an attacking standpoint aren't really performing at all. They're not creating many chances, especially away from home. Against West Brom and Oxford, they've created very little whatsoever. And, you know, for Middlesbrough, there is still, at the time of recording, a slim chance that they will finish in the top 2. They will go into this game thinking that they need to win to keep their automatic promotion hopes alive, and there's no reason why they would think that it's done, even though it's looking, you know, increasingly unlikely they're going to be able to force their way in because Ipswich and Mill will keep winning games, but it's not over yet. So there's still the impetus and the need for them to win this, and I don't think we're going to see Hellberg rest any players. And so I fancy them to win it. I fancy them to win it to 0. They're very short to win the game at 4-9. So the 7-4 for them to do it to 0, which copped in their last home game. Looks a bit of value for me.
Yeah, so my nap this week, 1.5 point nap. I want to free up 0.5 point for a goal scorer double later on. So yeah, 1.5 point play for my best bet of the weekend. And I'm looking at the League One playoff battle because I think this is really fun. Argyle and Luton are the ones looking from the outside at Stevenage, Stockport, Bradford and Bolton. There's only 2 games to go now. So we are kind of at that point where, albeit there's only so many points a team can make up in 2 games. It also means that, a win for one team, a defeat for the other can provide a really big swing. That is exciting. Luton and Argyle happen to be like the perfect disruptors in that they have been, with Lincoln, basically the best teams in the league, or rather the form teams in the league, if you like, for a sort of 2-3 month period now. So they're quite good candidates for being late season playoff disruptors. Luton are 3 points back, and they're on 68. Argyle are on 67. Then it's Stevenage in 6th on 71. Stockport are on 71 as well, have a game in hand. Bradford and Bolton are on 73 and 74. So I just find it a really interesting picture because Luton and Argyle are both about 4-1 to make the top 6 from this point. Both of them are around the 2-5 mark, 1.4 mark. They got home games against Vale and Barnsley this weekend. So it's about a 10-11 double for them to both win this weekend. And therefore, which I think they will personally, there's a good chance it gets very interesting for final day because Bolton, 3rd, play Bradford, 4th, so they can't both win, and clearly one of them may lose, and that could be quite damaging. Luton play Bolton on final day. So just setting the scene for you, keep an eye on League One playoff picture this weekend and on final day. My angle here is 1 point on Luton -2. At 11-4, 3.75 with Sky Bet. They're at home to Barnsley. Now, Luton, they could catch Bradford if they win both of their games and Bradford pick up 1 point or fewer from Bolton at home this weekend and Exeter away on Saturday. They could catch Stockport if Luton win both of their games and Stockport get 3 points or less from their last 3 games. Both of those don't seem hugely likely in terms of what they'd need the other side to do in order to get above them. They could catch Stevenage if Luton win their 2 games and Stevenage get 3 points or less, as they have a better goal difference than Stevenage. Or if they win this one, for example, and lose against Bolton and Stevenage lose both, Luton would go above them. So there's one real nuclear option, which I reckon is probably like 500 to 1 shot, but it's worth pointing out.
Just noticed this.
Luton could get above Bolton, who are 3rd, if they beat Barnsley this weekend and Bolton lose at Bradford. And then if Luton beat Bolton on final day, and with those 3 results, a 9-goal swing has to occur, they would finish above Bolton, which seems absolutely absurd. But let's say Luton win 3-0 or by 3 goals against Barnsley, and Bolton lose by 1 goal at Bradford, okay? Mm-hmm. So those are the 2 first results that need to happen. Then it would be a 5-goal swing. Then a 3-goal win on final day for Luton.
Great fun.
It's incredibly improbable, but it's
very unlikely.
Not out of the question. Like
Bolton, gotta be careful because you saying it now, people will think you think it's going to happen.
Bolton have to be quite careful, basically, and avoid defeat at Bradford. I guess my overall point is that goal difference is really important for Luton. So we're back in the -2. They need to win by 3 goals or more to win this bet. But it's the same with Stockport. They're on the same goal difference as Stockport. They're 3 points back. So goal difference could become important for Luton when 46 games are played. They're also the form team in the league with Lincoln, 20 points from their last 8 games with a Wembley win in there as well. Jack Wilshere has found something and it took a couple of months, but you have to say they're playing really well at the moment. Casey Palmer in particular is playing incredibly well. We need them to win by 3 goals or more. I'm encouraged by the fact they've scored 2 or more in 7 of their last 8 in the league. And they're at home to a Barnsley team, and this is a part of it as well, who have 1 win in 10, have had a crazy schedule recently in order to catch up on their games in hand. They were at Stevenage in midweek, losing 1-0. Obviously, Luton also played in midweek at Rotherham, so it's not like they've had the week off, but Barnsley not in good form. The manager's been announced as leaving at the end of the season already. They concede 1.6 goals per game away from home and 2 or more in 10 of their 21 away games. So I think there's a chance that if Luton get ahead, they could really just keep the pedal to the metal. And I'm not sure that Barnsley right now, in terms of their performances, their defence, and maybe motivation as well, would maybe put up a huge amount of fight. So there you go, an 11-4 nap. It's Luton to cover the -2 handicap and beat Barnsley at home 11-4 with Sky Bet. Next best.
Yeah, kind of a bit of permutation brain betting theory going into my next best, which is going to be the draw in Charlton against Hull at 12-5. Obviously, as an Oxford fan at the moment, I'm kind of living in permutation land in the Championship right now. And Oxford's fate was nearly sealed on Wednesday night, with Charlton leading against Ipswich and Blackburn 3-0 up against Sheffield United. Had Charlton got a point, that would have sealed Oxford's fate. But thankfully for me, Ipswich came back and won the game 2-1, keeping their automatic promotion hopes pretty strong. But also meaning that Charlton still need they need a point in order to confirm their safety, assuming that Oxford win their last 2 games, which is probably not safe to assume. But even so, going to this game, given that Oxford play Sheffield Wednesday at home, for which they are 4-9 at this current moment to win that game, obviously Nathan Jones, Charlton Athletic fans, Charlton Athletic players will want to do anything to prevent this going to final day, because you just don't need that stress, right? Like, this is a home game. They go to Swansea on final day, a Swansea team who, despite having nothing to play for, are playing pretty well at the moment. So Charlton need a point. For Hull, they've fallen out of the playoffs for the first time in however long, after a midweek draw 2-2 against Leicester. And Hull's demise and spiral out of the playoffs is a win for those of us who look at underlying numbers, who said this wasn't sustainable. But given that Wrexham have 2 really tough games to finish the season, where they play against Coventry on Sunday, and then they finish up against, I think it's Middlesbrough on final day. Home to Middlesbrough on final day. Hull will feel like they probably won't need that many points in order to get back the initiative. Like, currently, looking at the league table, they're both on 70 points. Hull are outside the top 6 on goal difference with a +4 rather than Wrexham's +6. So given that this is a 12:30 kickoff, and given that that Wrexham travel to the title winners on has it been confirmed? Yeah, on final day. If Hull lose this game, then they know, regardless of what happens at Coventry, they will go into the final day outside the top 6. However, they will probably believe that if they get a point here, that will get them in the top 6 on Sunday and will force Wrexham to get something at Coventry in order to get that right. So even though I don't think there is a chance that both teams will be setting up to win this game, as is often the case at this stage of the season, if it's 0-0, if it's 1-1 with half an hour to go, I think it's going to be massively in both teams' minds that it's important not to lose this game. It's a must-not-lose game for both teams rather than a must-win game. We saw a similar thing happen last weekend in Peterborough's game against Burton, where with kind of half an hour to go, both teams just outside the relegation zone, Peterborough equalised, and both teams were like, you know what, let's not lose this game and make matters worse. And the price is basically, there are often games like this in the EFL at the end of the season where it's obviously more clear cut that a point suits both teams, and the price for a draw gets much shorter. Here it's just the same price as a normal draw price, 12-5, just short of 5-2. This is a regular draw price, and I think it should be shorter. So yeah, my next best is basically Oxford to be relegated, but it's a draw in Charlton against Hull, in a result that would probably suit both teams now.
Yeah, goal scorer corner. We're going back in with Ben Wiles, 11-4 to score anytime with Sky Bet for MK Dons. I don't think these odds are representative of his level of goal threat playing for a strong team. They're at home to Tranmere this weekend. They'll know by the time Salford and Bromley play tonight whether a win might put them top of the league. That's if Bromley don't win at Salford. A win for MK would put them top heading into final day. But then just the fact that Callum Patterson, Mendes Lang, Gilby, Collins and Hepburn Murphy are all priced up between 5-4 and 7-4. I think Wiles should be among them. I think he's as big a goal threat as them. And I think that's been proven really in the last kind of 10 games or so. I went through it last week. As I say, 3 shots last week, so didn't score for us, but still went close. I think we can basically rely on him having 2, 3, 4, 5 shots in this game. In the last 10, he's only had 1 or less in 1 game. He's had 2 or more in the other 9. He's had 3 or more in 6 of 10. He's had 4. He's had 5 in games as well. So he was playing behind one striker when they had a lot of players out. Last week they did play 2 in front of him. I think it was Mendes, Lang and Patterson with him and Gilby in behind. I still think that's a role in which he'll get a lot of Ben Wiles-esque chances in a game that I expect MK to dominate. So Ben Wiles 1.9-4. And then Casey Palmer of Luton, they're my nap to win -2 at home to Barnsley. Obviously, I think they'll rack up the goals therefore. And Casey Palmer at 9-4 feels great to me. There's a massive aspect of just kind of riding the hot hand here as well. He is on an absurd goal-scoring streak. Anytime has landed in 6 of his last 8 league starts. 6 of 8 with 7 goals in that time. Scored a brace in there as well. The last 4 games, he's had 5 shots, 3 shots, 6 shots, 5 shots, 2 shots, 1 shot, 2 shots, 2 shots on target in that time. I really think that this will be a case of Luton, going very, very gung-ho. And right now it's clear that Palmer is just getting so many chances and he looks a bit too good for the level, to be honest. So I think that 9-4 is a decent thing there. And then it's a half-point double on the 2 at 12.19 with Sky Bet. So 1 point on Ben Wiles at 11-4, 1 point on Casey Palmer at 9-4, and the half-point double at 12.19 with Sky Bet.
Yeah, a couple for me as well.
Nice.
Jerry Yates is 9-2 to score any time for Sheffield Wednesday. This is in part because there's a fair chance that Oxford will be relegated about half an hour before the game starts. And if that happens, it's probably going to be quite a strange game. And understandably, Oxford players might struggle to raise themselves for it. The other option is that it's a big game for Oxford, and should they get ahead, as has often been the case under Matt Bloomfield, they'll invite some pressure. Yates got a good goal scoring record. For him to be 9-2 to score any time, given the potential for this to be a kind of strange game, and also that Wednesday are kind of offering a fair amount of goal threat in games recently. Their run of not scoring coincided with Yates, who's been a key part of that. So 9-2, happy to take that. And then Pierce Sweeney is 16-1 to score any time for Exeter, who travel to Burton. Exeter need to win this game. For Burton, it's kind of a must not lose because of their place just outside the playoffs. It's going to be an important game. Exeter have found some form in the last couple of performances, much better under Matt Taylor against Plymouth Argyle and against Stockport. I think because of the way this is set, if it's a draw or if it's Burton who are ahead, Exeter will have to push everything forward, and therefore set pieces will come into it hugely. Sweeney came very close to scoring late on against Stockport before the famous goalkeeper goal. He'll be definitely forward from every set piece. We saw Exeter go close 3 times from set pieces and score once later on in that Stockport goal. So in that Stockport game. 16-1 seems fair to me. Swerve.com. Blades, they're 3-5, which is a strange price. I don't really know. I've never really heard that before. It's one of those I think it's made for the decimals, but it has to be a fraction as well. They are home to Preston. Basically, this is just off the back of their performance last night against Blackburn. Chris Wilder talked a big game before the game, saying how important it was that they would turn up and all this stuff. And then they played a weakened team and they were really bad. So, I mean, who really knows? For Preston, they lost 2-1 against Birmingham last time out. Obviously, for Paul Heckingbottom, Sheffield United is a game that carries quite a lot of weight. You would
level on points going into it as well.
So, it feels like it's just very short for a team that, judging on last night's exploits, they're in my bad books. Okay. And I'm not sure they're overly motivated for this.
A grumpy Swerve.
Yeah.
Now for an enthusiastic Eggman. A 47.16 Eggman sevenfold this week.
Sevenfold.
Friday night, Millwall. 1.83 at Leicester. We start straight away on Friday night. Leicester have been relegated, and this home game is going to be like the equivalent of kind of like medieval times, people being put in the stocks while people come and throw rotten tomatoes at them. Obviously, the mood is lower than a snake's belly at Leicester, and Millwall are kind of finishing the season pretty strongly. They could easily finish second. It's unlikely because it depends on Ipswich Town. It depends on that Ipswich-Southampton game. But it's fairly clear that Millwall are kind of enjoying the fact that people still don't think that they've really got it in them. There isn't as much pressure on them as there was when they went second, beating Borough the other day. And they've won their last 2 games comfortably at home to QPR, away at Stoke. I think they will gleefully run all over Leicester here, and can put some what would be very interesting pressure, I think, on Ipswich and Saints with 2 wins if they can get that. They've got the best away record in the division as well. They've won 6 and drawn 2 in their last 8 away. I've got Derby as well, away at QPR. Similar for Derby, like they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but they won't be feeling like that's the case. They'll be feeling like if they can win both of their games, they can at least ask the question of those above them. They lost at Norwich in midweek, which was damaging, but they didn't play terribly. Win their last 2, and who knows? They're at QPR, who are finishing the season with a bit of a whimper. They've lost their last 2 at home to Swans and away at Millwall. They drew the 2 before that. Steve Cook has played his last game for the club, and in the statement, the club said he'll play his last game against Swansea because for the last 2 games of the season we're going to look to the future with our team selection, which again suggests maybe the playing of some youngsters, some fringe players that ordinarily wouldn't necessarily be part of their first team. So I think that leans me towards Derby. Bradford Bolton, I've got a stance, and it's a Bolton stance at 6-4. Now, this goes against the incredible season home record that Bradford have and quite a poor away record for Bolton. It's just a feeling I have about the level of the 2 teams right now, really. Bolton players, that deep squad is now mostly all available. There have a lot of players in form, a lot of individual players like Cozier Dewberry back and firing. Bradford's last 8 games, 2 wins, 3 draws, 3 defeats. Not the toughest fixtures in that time either. Only 2 teams in the top 10 and only won 2 of 8, lost 3. They've lost more games than they've won in 2026. So I'm going to take Bolton in what is a massive game for both teams, because if whoever loses that game is going to start feeling pretty wobbly ahead of final day. And then 4 shorties to pad it out. Luton, I've already discussed. I'm just taking the win price, 1.44. Bristol Rovers, 1.7 at home to Cheltenham. They've won 7 in a row and 9 of their last 10, Bristol Rovers. Cheltenham lost to Tranmere midweek, did not play well, didn't even play well at home to Newport on the weekend, but did nick the win here. I'm very confident this goes to form. MK Dons are in there as well, home to Tranmere, very short price. I just cannot see a world in which MK don't do the business there. They'll know if Bromley haven't won tonight that a win will take them top, and I think they'll be very motivated to do that last home game of the season. And then Barnet home to Gillingham. As long as Barnet win this game at home to Gills, whatever the results of Chesterfield against Crewe and then the Grimsby Swindon game, those are the teams above them, they'd go into final day with a chance. And, there's a lot of things have to fall in Barnet's place for them to actually make the top 7. But a bit like Derby, a bit like the Millwall logic, I just think for them it's pretty simple. Just win these 2 games, continue your good form, and ask the question and put the pressure on. I'm very confident Barnet beat this Gillingham side right now. So that's the Eggman. It's a 7-fold. It starts on Friday night with Millwall at Leicester. It goes into Saturday with Derby at QPR, Bolton at Bradford, Luton at home to Barnsley, Bristol Rovers at home to Cheltenham, MK Dons at home to Tranmere, and Barnet at home to Gills. That's at 47.16.
BTTS time. 2 in the Championship for me. West Brom, Ipswich. Baggies seem to be one of these teams we always see who kind of find some form, get away from the relegation zone and just love life off the back of it. Really good from an attacking point of view. Daryl DK back, Madger back in the goals, Isaac Price looking back like the player we saw at the beginning of the season. I think that might make life difficult for Ipswich, but we know that Ipswich don't go many games without scoring. And again, they conceded last night against Charlton. I think West Brom will have a part to play in this and what could be a really tricky game for the Tractor boys. Birmingham, Bristol City next. Bristol City under Hodgson, loads and loads of goals. 2 teams with very little to play for beyond pride. And it should be a game where we see both attack with reckless abandon. 4-5 seems like a huge price, so I don't really understand it. I think it must be because of Birmingham's good defensive home record, but with little to play for, I don't really see why it's so big. And then again in League 2, Bristol Rovers, Cheltenham, 2 teams geographically close to each other, very little to play for beyond bragging rights. Cheltenham games have been really end-to-end recently, and you'd fancy them to score against Bristol Rovers team who are in really good form. So Baggies, Ipswich, Birmingham, Bristol City, and Bristol Rovers, Cheltenham 4-5, 5-6.
Yeah, we got 10 of the 12 teams scored last week. We were 4 out of 6 in terms of the BTTS. It was your Oxford didn't score against Derby, and for me, Watford didn't score at home to Sheffield United. I'm adding Stoke Pompey. Portsmouth's survival was confirmed in midweek despite their defeat at Coventry. It's been an amazing effort from them over the last month to kind of get themselves over the line, having been at a low ebb. Josh Murphy came back from injury off the bench, which is great to see. Played half an hour. Not sure whether he'll start here or not. Ali's in decent form as well, so they just look a bit more potent. And I think if Murphy does come back, that's a great news for Colby Bishop. It's great news for whoever plays right wing, because he sets up so many chances with those balls across the face of the goal. Stoke against Millwall played an 18-year-old Raphael Piju Otegbayo, whose brother plays for Sheffield Wednesday. 18-year-old played at centre-back. 18-year-old played at right-back, Sydney Agina. Obviously, they've got Phillips as well, 20-year-old. Very young back line to finish the season. I think BTTS, a decent thing in that game. Chesterfield Crew, similarly, Chesterfield will be going all out for the win here. Make sure they get into the playoff places ahead of their final day game against Swindon. But Crew, I don't think they'll mind that scenario, and I think they have the attacking players, Tesgell, O'Reilly, to hurt a Chesterfield team that do have a bit of a soft underbelly. So BTTS, Chesterfield Crew. And Newport Oldham. Oldham's season sadly fell at the last hurdle after such a good run, and their results have reflected that. They just ran out of steam. Newport, massive game for them. If they win this, it will take a lot of pressure off their game on final day against Barrow. And their performances at home, I maintain, have been quite good. They are not an amazing team. They're not a great defensive team. I think Oldham can still hurt them, Fondop up top, but I do think Newport will score, so BTTS there. The sixfold has, in the Championship, West Brom Ipswich, Birmingham Bristol City, Stoke Portsmouth. In League 2, Newport Oldham, Chesterfield Crew, and Bristol Rovers Cheltenham. And it's at 29.54 with Sky Bet. Giorgio, recap your selections.
Borough to nil the Nap at 7-4, 12-5 the draw in Charlton Hull is my next best. I'm swerving Blades at 3-5 and goal scorers Jerry Yates at 9-2 for Sheffield Wednesday and Pierce Sweeney at 16-1 for Exeter City.
Yeah, and I've got my nap is Luton -2 at 11-4 with Sky Bet. They're at home to Barnsley. Goal scorer corner has a point on Ben Wiles at 11-4 and Casey Palmer at 9-4, and then half a point on the double, those two at 12.19 with Sky Bet. The Eggman is a 47.16 sevenfold with Millwall, Derby, Bolton, Luton, Bristol Rovers, MK Dons and Barnet. And the BTTS sixfold has West Brom Ipswich, Birmingham Bristol City, Stoke Portsmouth, Newport Oldham, Chesterfield Crew, Bristol Rovers Cheltenham at 29.54. A big weekend. We're back on Monday to recap it. Cannot wait for that. George and I are on a 60-man stag do on Saturday, which could be quite remarkable, and we cannot wait to chat to you again on Monday. Cheers to Sky Bet for sponsoring the pod and to the Reverters for playing us out. Go well!